Hello, Adele. Thank you very much for participating on our audio-visual thing. It's really lovely to talk to people. And you are talking to us about the fact that you've had epilepsy in the past and now you've had brain surgery and you don't have epilepsy anymore. And so I'm really intrigued to know about your past and your background with epilepsy and your journey since.
Sure. Okay, yes. Well, my name is Adele Sawyer, originally from New Zealand, and I wasn't born with epilepsy. Really, I didn't find out until about 10 years after having epilepsy what the actual cause of my seizures were. Because I started having official seizures, I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was about 12, and of course for most of the years, even after having my first MRI scan, they couldn't identify any cause at all. It wasn't until I had my second MRI scan when I was about 17 years old that they noticed a scar in my brain. And so the neurologist and doctors were asking me as to, did I have an accident when I was young? Was it genetic? Is epilepsy genetic in my family, etc.? And so that's when I took it to my parents and asked, okay, so what did I do when I was younger? And the only incident that my mother could take me back to was when I was in a walker and I fell downstairs as a baby, a two-storey home, in that walker, and that's the main big cause. And of course I didn't know this at all when I was young. However, that's the main accident that she could boil it down to, was that incident. Of course we didn't know that it would cause such things like seizures and epilepsy. However, yes, I was officially diagnosed with epilepsy when I was about 12, 13 years old, and I went through about 2 or 3 years of depression because of it, mainly because I was a bright kid when I was younger. I was a very academic child when I was young. However, grades at school went from A's to about E's and all. I remember studying my heart out for lots of things, trying to, I'll say, survive throughout high school and all, and only getting about 10% from my exams, etc. And so it's not as though I wasn't trying to study or work or achieve things, and all. It's just basically the brain wasn't exactly cooperating with what I wanted it to do, which was especially to retain memory. I didn't realise, it's only through experience that I came to learn that epilepsy affects such things like basically how your brain functions, etc., including your memory, including your self-confidence, emotional health and well-being. Epilepsy is what I've learnt to be a typical invisible disability, which people don't even notice about you. They just think you look normal, and so you can be like any normal person and do anything and everything and all. However, deeply from experience, it affects everything. I couldn't swim at school because I remember basically drowning when I was having a seizure, and also I had to get resuscitated. But the funny thing about it, though, is I don't remember it. When I say I don't remember it, I don't remember going through the incident of having to be resuscitated. All I so remember is just basically people around me freaking out about it. And the same thing with every other seizure that I've experienced throughout my life. I know that my neurologist would always ask me how many seizures do I have every week, etc. And there's no exact timing to it. It's not as though I wish there was a timing, right? On Wednesdays at 12 o'clock you'll have it.
You could be better prepared.
Yes,
yes.
I wish, but no. And so typically, if I spread it out throughout my life, because I started off with about 6 seizures a day when I was in my early teens. And so I used to avoid school big time for about a week after I had each seizure. And so that's basically one reason why school grades and everything went down. Same with social life, hardly having peers who even basically understood what I was going through. And all. But then I went through different medications, Epilepsy, Charitable, different types of medications, and I was controlled, especially with the Charitable medications, for a time period. When I say my late teens, I'd say about 5 years. I changed from having the grand mal seizures on the ground, which is what typically most people think seizures are, is just on the ground, shaking, that's it. But of course, through experience, I came to learn that, even learn what auras are, even also having sleeping seizures, and so that's the only way that I got to even get my driver's license, was later on in my teens, 20s. I changed to having sleeping seizures only, and they were, I'll say, occasional, around about once every 6 months and all. But in saying that, it doesn't mean to say that it didn't affect every other day in between having the real seizure. And all, it still tested memory challenges. It still affects your, confidence, your emotional health, well-being, etc. And all. But then, of course, out of the blue, they just started coming back, and so I've had a mixture of, once again, those grand mal seizures, sleeping seizures, auras, also absent seizures, and also and a few other kinds. And I had to come to learn for myself that there are different types of seizures. Not as though any of us ever want to experience them, but even finding out that there are different triggers. It's not just the same type of trigger, which some people just assume that flashing lights is the only type of thing which triggers them off. But no, it can be, I'll say from experience, anything and all. The only thing that helped me, I'll say, through my studies, because I didn't give up on going to high school and going to universities and all. What helped me was, when I was at high school, we sat what's a learning exam, and we come to find out whether we are a visual learner, an oral learner, or a hands-on kinesthetic tactile learner. And I came to learn that the right side of my brain, which wasn't affected, because it's on the other side of my brain where the scar was, but the right side of my brain, I'll just say, quite an academic. and so basically I picked up on hands-on kinesthetic activities very easily, and so that's why when I started learning sign language throughout my early teens as well, I learned it fast, straight away. It's a lot of hands-on activities, and so that's basically what I developed a passion for, was learning things kinesthetically. And so, or I was even using audio as well. When I was studying at high school or even at university, I used to record myself, or else I used to sign to myself in the mirror in order to study. Because when I used to try and read, it just would go over my head. And all, I just couldn't retain the information well. And I used to admit, I used to get really frustrated as to, I put like 2 weeks of, of study into, studying for exams, and then on the day of exams, I'd go blank. As for why, it could have been a nerve system thing, or it was something like that, but basically a few days later that memory would slowly come back. And I remember big time failing a lot of papers and all. My first degree, which is at Waikato University, it was an education degree, and I actually got how I got into college that way? It's through a special entrance. I didn't even pass any of my exams. I got accepted through special entrance because my teachers could see at high school that I was a hard worker, that I tried my best to achieve anything. And, looking at the positives of it all, that's one of the positive things that I learnt, while experiencing epilepsy, is that you just work 200% plus even more to achieve just the basics of life. And so if it meant, working studying till midnight every night, etc., just to get through high school, so be it. At least it got me into university through special entrance. And so when I was going through university, yes, I failed different papers and things like that, but what I had to learn though is there's no such thing as failure unless you completely give up. And so that's what I had to challenge myself into doing, is it's all a mind over matter thing. I even had to learn to let go of what I didn't have control over, which was basically the seizures, and focus on what I did have control of. So when I say what I did have control of, well, every other day that I wasn't having a seizure, I still started using either audio learning or kinesthetic learning, and I remember recording myself over and over again. It was kind of boring hearing my own voice. However, it got me through exams, even if it meant getting a C- for exams and all. But finally, after 4.5 years of studying, failing, passing, you name it, and all, I finally got through my normal, typical 3-year degree, and it was an extra 1.5 2 years of studies. But it definitely, when I reflect upon what I learned throughout those experiences, it taught me the principle of hard work, resilience, tenacity, all of the above, I will say, and all this, especially more, I'd say, my own internal battles that I was going through, especially just wanting to, many times give up and all. But I am grateful, especially reflecting upon these experiences. It taught me, once again, the value of hard work. And so that's what's, after that first degree, I graduated when I was about 20 years old. And I carried that same principle along with me to achieve any other things in life. So I've done other degrees too now, other courses, and I've been working even since I was a teenager as well, because once again I do believe in the value of hard work, and even if it's just to achieve the small simple things in life, even being a mother too. When I moved on to becoming a mother, I was this was over in Australia, in Brisbane. I was referred to a specialist neurologist. She specialised in pregnant women with epilepsy. And her name was Dr. Cecilia Lander. I remember her well. She was really helpful. And I know that I had a lot of challenges of, fertility and all, with having children for different reasons, whether it be my epilepsy medications, who knows. But it was after, even though I was semi-controlled throughout my late teens and 20s with medications, just out of the blue, the same medications that used to work stopped working. And so I had to constantly see the neurologist, get medication changes, etc., and just none of them worked. So after about six changes of medications throughout about roughly a 5-year period, they finally, asked me if I wanted to opt for surgery, the left temporal lobectomy surgery. And I've been told that was kind of new. It had only been around for about 10 years, roughly, so it's still kind of new. And anyway, of course, I did a lot of homework throughout it all. Homework, questions galore. What are the risks involved? Who qualifies for it? What are the statistics of it being a successful surgery, etc. And so this is what my specialist neurologist, Dr. Lander, she explained a lot of this to me. And even basically what pregnant life is for a woman with epilepsy. And I went through a lot of it. So I actually fell pregnant while I was going through all my tests to see if I qualified for the surgery. And yes, it was, my seizures increased. It increased a lot when I fell pregnant. As for why, who knows? Every woman is different and all. So yes, I was having about 4 seizures a week and all, but it was different this time because it was not just my life that was at risk anymore, it was me and my little one and all. And so yes, I have to say anxiety just hit the roof then, because I was always, even on the neurology, the epilepsy helplines, just asking for help, just wondering if my baby was okay, did baby get hurt, etc. And even though it was explained to me many times that baby is fine, baby is, in seizures, and even the types of seizures were okay, because I didn't have the, also when I was only having absence seizures, still it's the fact that this was, someone else's life at risk there. And so I just had to especially calm my nerves after each time I had seizures when I was pregnant. Many times I just needed to get my anxieties out, my frustrations out, and all. Even though I was told over and over again that baby is fine, that I'm okay, that and all, but still, it's all part of having anxiety, especially when it's life and death situations, and what I'd experienced in the past with seizures of drowning, being resuscitated, also cutting myself, also burning myself, how many different types of injuries and all from having seizures. But it's the fact that once again this is someone else's life at risk here. So I had to learn all about how to I'll just say survive being a pregnant mother with epilepsy, and even the health and safety notions of what to do after baby is born, how to feed my baby, and how to put in one of those pram holders that you have to attach to the prams, so that if I had a seizure while I was out on the road, basically, baby doesn't roll off on the road without me, kind of things. Even basically not bathing my son by myself, so my husband had to take care of a lot of duties. However, it was a year after I had my son that I found out that I officially qualified for the surgery, the left temporal lobectomy surgery. And I have to say, I had a lot of, I'll just say fears in terms of the fact that someone is even going to deal with your brain. had a lot of fears. I was reading lots of other people's stories, asking around who's done it, has it been successful, and there's been each to their own. Some people's surgeries, it didn't make a difference. Some people's surgeries, it decreased the seizures. They've been completely seizure-free. So, of course, I even had to ask the neurosurgeon when I had my appointments, what are the risks? Everything that I needed to know. And what's the success rate? So over in Australia, the success rate is approximately about 70%. Which is, of course, we hear it is pretty reasonable, but it's the fact that what if I'm part of the 30% kind of thing. And so I wanted the ins and outs about even, so what are the side effects of this surgery? And so it was explained to me that I could lose my vision, I could get paralysed, and of course, like all surgeries, death. And also, of course, even information like that can be daunting. However, I had to weigh up the maths, I'll say, of what I had experienced throughout my 23 years of epilepsy since I was a teenager, through to that day, and I just had to, I have to say, I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot to just get a bit of direction. Should I not? Because I had a lot of feedback, even from family, who I'd say they just did not understand. But, some of my family members were anti the surgery, but I listened to my own instincts here, and especially with what I'd been through, and also other things, goals in life that I still was striving to achieve. I took my chances, said lots of prayers before my surgery, and this was on the 7th of January 2013. Remember those dates. Yes, I had my left temporal lobectomy surgery at Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital in Brisbane, Australia. And yes, it took a lot of prayers and nerves and all, but I did it, and a lot of prayers, and all, prayed for me too. But I did it, and I have to say, prayers helped big time, because I was basically shopping about 4 days after. And I was just one of those that I was basically released 2 days after, and even though it was explained to me that it takes up to 6 weeks to recover and I shouldn't do any activities, etc., I was getting bored after day 3 in my bed. I just wanted to do things, but I have to say, this is the most challenging part. Was it's like being born again. It's just such habits of, okay, when's my seizure going to happen? Okay, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, because I was so used to having roughly about 2 to 4 a week. It's not as though I wanted them to happen. It was just, I'll say, habits of life. You're just so used to it happening that it's basically, once again, it's like being born again. And so when 1 week passed, 2 weeks passed, I was just it was like something to get used to again. A new life had just happened for me. And another big difference I noticed was the fact that I had much more energy now. Because, of course, rather than being exhausted and my body basically using up all my energy, having seizures and all, I could actually start exercising again safely. I could actually bath my son safely. And so it wasn't like a straight overnight thing, which a lot of people think, that's how it is when you're recovering from a seizure. Oh, you're awake. No, it's a slow recovery. And so the same thing after I had my surgery, it was a slowly testing the waters to see what I could do that I couldn't do before. So that's why even just bathing my son, I know it may sound simple, but it was the fact that I could do it safely, and I believe, just trust myself again, that I could actually do this. And so even I joined a gym, and I started using my energy to burn, I'll say, if I'm going to the gym every day about 5 times a week. And honestly, before I had my surgery, one thing I did is I used to write in my journals a lot. And so I recall a lot of these memories. And some of the memories that I wrote down was about what are some of the main things that I learned when I had my 23 years of epilepsy. Once again, work hard for anything. Also, believe in yourself. And so it's not as though just these past 4 years since that surgery that I've achieved anything and everything, because I still push my way through getting my degrees, working, trying my best to be as good as a mum as I can be, and things like that. So when I'm reading through my goals, journals and all, I achieved a lot with epilepsy. Now it's all the matter of what can I achieve, now that I've carried on with life without epilepsy now. And all, and so that's apart from that, of course, some of my goals that I wanted to achieve was being an entrepreneur, setting up my own businesses. It was just the challenges of exhaustion, memory challenges, retaining information, even getting out in public, social phobia, and all those different challenges which people don't even notice that or see that in you. Basically, that's what I wanted to achieve. But now it's basically, since that surgery, it's like, right, what can I achieve? What can I do now? And I have been told to slow down. I have been told to slow down. Even my body has been telling me to do that. Slow down. I'm still a human being. I still need sleep and all, and you still need a balance in life. However, I am so extremely grateful that I am seizure-free. I'm also, I'll just say, proud of myself that I still accomplished many different goals in life, even when I had my epilepsy and all. And so that's definitely taught me to keep with those same principles of being an extremely hard worker, always writing and setting and achieving goals. And so that's what I've been doing for the past year. I run my own business now. As I said, sign languages being one of my easiest activities to learn and all, languages to learn. So that's why I've set up my business CCOM, and so I've got around about 15 staff under me now over the past 6 months and all. And so this is just some of the goals and aspirations that I wanted to achieve in life. And so that's what I definitely encourage for anyone who even has these challenges of epilepsy. First of all, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve? Now figure out any and every way to achieve those goals. If, for example, epilepsy is, causing delays in, for example, studying and learning, there's no one way of learning though. Going to universities and colleges is not the only way of learning, and all there's many other ways to learn. You just need to figure out for yourself whether it be online studies, or else whether it be going out and participating in different activities and all, because that's what helped me to learn sign language well, was because that more required the side of my brain which was not affected. And all, it's also even, I'm being honest, that sometimes when I was around other peers, it is important who you're around, because peer influence, peer pressure, it does have a big impact of what you do and don't achieve. And so I just wanted to be around all the time. I always wanted to be around inspirational people who basically, if they believe themselves, that gave me hope and faith to believe in myself also. And so that's especially what got me through anything and everything in life, is if your mind doesn't cooperate, I'll say, with what you want it to do, let your heart carry you through, because that's really what got me through everything. Even though, I couldn't retain information well, it was more my heart that got me through my degrees, my heart that found me jobs. If I failed job interviews because of my epilepsy, I went and got another, or I set up my own businesses. It was my heart that got me through. And emotional health and well-being means everything. I actually personally believe that your heart is more important than your mind. Especially because of, once again, hey, if it got me through getting through degrees and achieving different goals in life, I believe it can help anyone and everyone achieve what they want to in life as well. You just need to decide, what would you like to achieve in life? And you do a brainstorm and then basically do whatever it takes to achieve it. And so that's what got through, helped me to become the person that I am today. And so I've got many more goals to achieve. It's just like a bucket list of many things to do.
Adele, this is inspirational, actually. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and the fact that you're such a lively, inspirational entrepreneur too. You've set up an own business, and it has won awards. Your business has won awards, and I think that is absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much for sharing your epilepsy story with us, the fact that it hasn't been easy for you for the past 23 years before you had brain surgery, and the fears that you had being a mother and with brain surgery. It's not easy, but your heart is big, your heart is there, and you're a very strong person with a very, very strong message to everyone, really, is to keep going regardless, and to find in your heart some way of actually overcoming these difficulties. And epilepsy does present many difficulties for many people. And for you, I wish you well, actually, in your endeavours, because you deserve what you have now in terms of the businesses that you set up and the life that you're leading. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.